Hello everyone! This is ideally the first part of a two-parter video where I try to explain how World of Warcraft could be saved from its current state. I'm neither a content creator nor do I intend to become one. This is a one-shot thing which I felt I had to commit to, out of love for this game. So let's begin, shall we? There's been a lot of negative feedback and commentary about World of Warcraft lately, even after Shadowlands' initial success, and I for one quit playing right after reaching the new level cap with my main, because I simply couldn't stand yet more grindy systems. Not only content creators have been complaining about the content drought due to the delay of patch 9.1, but the very state of the game has gotten a lot of criticism. Unsurprisingly so, I should add. Classic now offers one of WoW's most beloved expansions, but I doubt it will go much farther than Wrath of the Lich King. First because the true Classic era ended with the second expansion, and also because Cataclysm marked the beginning of WoW's decline. We're still talking of at least another 3 or 4 years of content, plus the very likely fresh servers. But still, sooner or later Classic will cease offering a compelling experience. On the opposite side of the spectrum we have retail, with Shadowlands being all in all a decent expansion, but certainly not what many of us were expecting after the hype around it, and especially after the systemic mess that BFA has been. The game is certainly not going to die tomorrow, but it won't take long, even for hardcore fans to lose interest shouldn't things change. What if there were alternatives, not you, that Blizzard could provide? Here is where my concept for a revitalized offering came from, and I hope someone will take my humble suggestions at least as inspiration, as a sketch for an overhaul of the World of Warcraft. As crazy or unfeasible as this may seem, WoW should keep delivering a double gameplay offering, with a Classic Plus version of the game and with retail. The former providing a revamped experience of the original game, and the latter moving forward, without being hindered by legacy content. In general terms, Classic Plus should revolve around the actual expansion and improvement of Vanilla's Azeroth, with assets from later expansions being added to the original areas, without removing anything that isn't broken, save for the occasional phasing in max-level areas which, like many other technologies, as far as I understand, can be applied because Classic is actually running on a modern iteration of the game. Retail WoW should instead focus exclusively on the latest content, enabling new and returning players alike to jump into the action of the best available version of the game. So much so, in fact, that any prior expansion should be considered as a time-walking area, which players don't need to visit unless they want to engage in vanity collections or as an option to level alts. Ah, the Cataclysm. That should be the greatest divide between the two versions of the game, with Azeroth's areas in Classic Plus unaffected. Yet we can still reuse most of Cataclysm assets to expand the base world. Second, but not in importance, max level should be capped at 60, once and for all, at which point leveling experience must be considered over for all purposes. There are many other ways to show progression, and especially in Classic Plus there won't be need for drastic power resets. In retail, in fact, players that completed the previous expansion in maxed out gear should be allowed to jump straight into the most challenging content of the new expansion from day one. Aside from Cataclysm and the level cap, I based my concept on 4 main pillars, each briefly described in the next slides, and further detailed in the second parter. There are tons of possibilities within the current game engine, but the key points are having systems that respect players' time, keeping power progression within classes and specs, making leveling truly fun, and ultimately creating an engaging open world, especially, but not only, for casual players. First and foremost, any progress, saved for gear, should be account-wide, up and including special currencies, reputations, and any alternative power progression systems that, for one reason or another, may be deemed worth adding to the game. Also, other than a character's bags, inventory should be shared among toons on a same server, especially crafting reagents. Second, but not in importance, there should be no more caps on accrual of currencies. Players must feel free to play when they want and for as long as they like. Instead, a cap shall be placed on the spending of currencies per character, and said cap shall stack at each passing week, as long as an account is active. I'd actually advocate for the same to happen with crafting cooldowns and the like, but I understand this could pose potential risks in the balance of a server economy. When it comes to power progression, both versions of the game should focus on gear, with set bonuses, trinkets, and effects from various slots being the only sources of external power. The main difference between Classic Plus and Retail would be that in the former, gear progression should be linear, with players having to find groups that tackle the content they need gear from, while Retail could still have limited catch-up mechanisms between patches. Further progress for classes and specs should come from extra talent points and spell ranks acquired during various phases in Classic Plus, while Retail characters could obtain improved versions of their spells, or a reworked toolkit if necessary, between expansions. As I previously mentioned, levels should be capped at 60, hence the actual leveling phase should end there. In Classic Plus, Azeroth should be enhanced with as many assets as possible taken from following expansions, starting with the Cataclysm, and then adding connecting quests to consolidate the leveling experience. Ideally, power progression should use the traditional talent tree system, not the one from vanilla of course, but to make things really interesting, I'd go with something closer to what I have in mind for Retail. Apart from taking new players to level straight into the latest available content, and using an enhanced chromie time for alts, leveling in Retail could be made truly fun by implementing a reworked version of the artifact weapon talent trees. With that, I mean a talent tree where all points are filled up at max level to guarantee balance in competitive activities, but which enables the widest freedom during the leveling phase, with players being given the option to use their talent points however they like. Some choices in key spells and talents could be still somewhat reined in, but all in all, players should be able to go crazy with talents while leveling and have a lot of fun in the process. Again, in Classic Plus, Azeroth will be the main stage for most casual activities, while areas from expansion shall work as temporary content hubs, mostly focused on challenging group, raid, guild activities to unlock flight paths, dungeons and raids. Even quests in these areas should be redesigned for groups of players, with progress becoming the goal of bug raids and guilds alike. Max level areas in Azeroth shall still remain viable for solo players for reputations, crafting materials, lore, etc. In Retail, ideally players should only hang out in current content, while previous expansions work as time-walking areas for vanity collections or completionist activities. In a way, the game should work as if previous expansions didn't exist, with the whole population of characters moving to the new areas provided by the latest expansion, never looking back. This would allow Retail to explore the full potential of both new narrative and new gameplay. Very important, in this case, the segregation of gear progression between raiding, Mythic Plus, and PvP, along with the availability of a power progression for casual open-world content. More about this in the second part. So, to wrap up, Classic Plus should revolve around expanding Azeroth little by little, using content from expansions as activity hubs. The game should be focused around group, raid content, with a linear gear progression that enables players to take their time in building their characters. On the opposite, Retail will always treat the latest expansion as the time and place to be, with the game designed around providing the newest gameplay experience to new and returning players alike. Outdoor content shall provide an engaging experience for casual players, while remaining optional for those committed to competitive activities. With most systems being account-wide, level capped at 60 and leveling reworked, both games will then open to countless improvements in various aspects, which I'll hopefully cover in the second video. From revamped professions to a revision of gear and stats, from improved questing and reputations to some guild-specific features like guild housing or the crafting of legendaries as bound to guild items. If you watched the video until now, I really thank you for your time, and I hope my work on it can be of inspiration to someone who can do something about World of Warcraft. There aren't many real alternatives out there in terms of true MMORPGs, so fingers crossed. Thank you for watching. Ciao!